put eloquently or poetically, isn't it? And it's just, you know,
to provoke a reaction as much as anything.
Yeah.
Well, and the good one, Ozzy Osbourne.
I mean, sorry, but just go back there. The irony is that is art. That he was an artist, wasn't he? So,
but okay, so you don't like Oscar Wilde, but you prefer Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, go on.
Ozzy Osbourne, cracking one this, funny and educational. I bit a head off a bat the other night. It was like eating a crunchy wrapped in a chamois leather.
Genius. You're right, Carl.
Yeah.
So there's.
What do you like about that? The way he's described what it is like.
I think, yeah, if someone, I mean, you can imagine what it's like, because I like crunchies.
Yeah.
And,
it's like
and a chamois leather's really chewy, so you can imagine that's like the skin.
So you like his descriptive writing?
The crunchy bit is like the bones and that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But you know, Carl, it's interesting because you've analysed Ozzy there, and in a way, that is the first step on maybe doing a new English GCSE.
Yeah,
you know, being able to study
you said
language
what you
and
liked
understand
it. You said because it describes what you've never eaten about yourself.
Yeah, but my teacher, Mrs. Kane, if I would have come into school with, you know, a quote by Ozzy Osbourne, she wouldn't have been happy.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference between.
She'd go, right, Carl, get your horse and go home.
Well, listen though, we were talking about other quotes.
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
Do you know his one?
Yeah.
What, one giant leap for mankind?
Do you know it wasn't meant to be that? You know, it says, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, right?
Yep.
It was meant to be, this is one small step for a man.
Right.
I.e. me, the individual, on a microcosmic level, one giant leap for mankind. And he mucked it up, because if you say, this is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, man there means mankind.
I know, it's embarrassing.
So you shouldn't give people, he's not a trained actor.
That's true.
He's more of an astronaut, to be
Has he
honest.
won any awards, Rick?
No, there are no awards. Is he BAFTA nominated? Don't think so.
But listen, right, he said another quote as he got back into the rocket. Have you heard about it?
Go on.
Well, we're running out of time, and I'm just wondering whether it's worth saving as a bit of a teaser for next week.
What did Neil Armstrong say as he got back into the rocket?
Yeah.
Is it going to be
away?
Something like, that was boring, wasn't it? The mic's not still on, is it?
Yeah.
They're not still listening.
Well, that's what I was saying to you. He could have said that, and it would have still gone down.
Cheese.
It would have still gone down as an amazing quote, wouldn't it?
Well, listen, I think you should save it, Carl.
So I was meant to go first.
No, I'll tell you what we'll do, Carl. We'll squeeze it in before the end of the show, because, Ricky, you got to play your song for the lovers.
Oh,
you should play this.
I don't think we'll fit it in. We might have to save it.
Don't worry, we'll see what we can do.
Well, next week, by the way, you've got happiness quotations, a collection of thoughtful words and beautiful paintings. I'll just give you an example of one. Happiness is a perfume you can pour on others you cannot pour on others without getting a few drops on yourself. It's lovely that, isn't it?
Brilliant.
You can't be happy with that. This is Nick Cave and the Bad Seed, from the Boatman's Call. It's a beautiful song. Any song that starts off, I don't believe in an interventionist God is alright by me, and this is Into My Arms. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Into My Arms. Well, that's it, we've run out of time.
We have indeed.
So no time for, Carl's quote, that'll have to come next week.
Yeah, we'll save that for next time.
Armstrong. Well, I hope you, enjoyed it. Goodbye.
Alright, Rick, come on, I'm sounding a bit chirpier, it's not that depressing.
Well, yeah.
Sports next. You know how excited you are?
Go on.
You love the sport, don't you?
Welcome to
theories
of the third kind.
Welcome. First off, I want to say thank you to whomever you are listening for opening your minds to receive extra knowledge nuggets each week. It means a lot to all of us, and I want you to know that. Also, before we start, since you, whomever you are a Patreon subscriber, remember that you get priority in topic suggestions. So feel free to shoot those suggestions on over to us either by email, Instagram, direct message, Twitter, Facebook, direct message, any of those. You know how to get a hold of us. So today's episode is FEMA. How it will go today is that we'll go over quickly what is FEMA, then the National Emergency Centers Establishment Act, then the Operation Garden Plot, Rex 84, Ted Gunderson, and then we will go over the FEMA camps and coffins, the boxcars, the prison barges, Jade Helm 15, RFID chips, strange facts and findings, and then wrap it all up with our own personal thoughts and theories. This is going to be a lengthy one, okay? But I'm sure all of y'all are prepared for the length, okay? The research that was done on this, I have to give a hand to Anna, because just like every week, she went extremely deep in this. Her and Dan kicked out this episode, so I got to give them a hand for that. They did a great job. You want to know something about FEMA? Because you're about to know every goddamn thing there is to know about this fucking thing.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. The work here was mostly like an iceberg. I'm like the top of it, just barely out of the water, and then all that shit underneath, that shit was Anna.
Yeah, Anna.
She sunk the Titanic.
She's the ox. She don't look like an ox. She's a beautiful human being, but she's like an ox carrying the weight. So, a big round of applause to her.
I just don't know when to stop. That's my problem. Because honestly, I could have done so much more on this as well, but it's just so long. And maybe we'll have to dive deeper. Yeah, that's what she said. We could maybe take specific things in here and dive deeper into it with other episodes, but this is a really good overview of FEMA. So I think that you guys are going to enjoy this.
So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Anna, can you do us the pleasure and tell us what is FEMA?
So FEMA, which is also known as the Federal Emergency Management Agency, was originally set up in 1979 to provide a coordinated federal response to national disasters such as major hurricanes or tornadoes. Before FEMA was FEMA, it was the Federal Civil Defense Administration, and it was established by President Harry S. Truman in 1950 under the Executive Order number 10186. Their main goal was to have nuclear fallout shelters built for the important people of the world. There are underground cities built to be able to better prepare for a nuclear attack, but we can dive deeper into underground bunkers later.
So where do the conspiracies come into all this? Well, there's something under the surface, something that is supposedly happening that we are unaware of. The belief is that either the United States president or some person in power will use executive powers of the office to suspend the Constitution and declare martial law. Now, we will go over these executive orders during the strange facts and findings that supposedly suspend the Constitution and declare martial law and transition power to government officials. But let's transition real quick and go over the National Emergency Centers Establishment Act to get a better understanding of this whole FEMA thing.
So I won't go super deep into this because, like I said, this would be like a 3-day episode if we went down every single avenue. So for this, it was a bill that they tried to pass twice that allowed emergency centers to be put up around the country, but it also had some wording in it that was extremely vague, and it created some suspicion. So when the bill didn't pass the first time, they changed something like this around. It states that this act does not authorize any federal officer or employee to force an individual to enter a national emergency center or prevent an individual from leaving a national emergency center.
I mean, that sounds good, right? Well, that is where you could be wrong. The one little thing that was overlooked, if we were sent to these emergency centers, they were going to be on decommissioned military bases. So that would mean that it would be the military taking and controlling us. Who would be able to enforce us staying in these camps? They even have a map of our country divided into 10 sectors, and this is where emergency centers will be, so FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security would have stations to be able to control the U.S.
So there's a picture here that we'll put under the episode, and those are the 10 sectors that would be the U.S. would be divided as. So let's dive into this rabbit hole a little deeper. Let's see what's below the surface of FEMA and its involvements.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is Operation Garden Plot. So the Department of Defense Civil Disturbance Plan, also known as Operation Garden Plot, was a general U.S. Army and National Guard plan to respond to major domestic civil disturbances within the United States. The plan was developed in response to the civil disorders of the 1960s and fell under the control of the U.S. Northern Command,